Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You know how we always talk about life being this journey of learning and growing? Well, today we're diving into some source material that takes that idea to a whole other level.
It suggests that this world, this whole experience of existing, is basically like a giant school. We're all students here, constantly learning and evolving. And the ultimate lesson, it seems, is understanding that we are already unified, like we're all connected at some fundamental level.
And that's not something we achieve, it's something we come to realize.
Right. And once we grasp that inherent unity, it unlocks this deeper level of joy and fulfillment because we're seeing our true nature, who we really are.
I like that. Our source material lays out this concept of 5 grades in world school, and it's fascinating. It's like a roadmap of sorts for our spiritual evolution.
It helps us understand the different stages we go through and realizing that unity, recognizing that it's a process, not just a sudden revelation.
And it acknowledges that we all progress through these grades at our own pace. You know how sometimes you explain something to someone and it's like they instantly get it? It's as if they already knew it on some level.
Like they just needed a little nudge to remember something they'd already learned, right?
Exactly. Our source suggests that this ease of understanding often reflects prior learning, maybe even from past lives. Some of us, we've had more experience with certain lessons, so we pick them up quicker in this lifetime.
Kind of like in a classroom where some students might grasp new concepts faster because they have a bit more background knowledge.
The source actually uses this example of a father with 6 children, and one of the kids shows absolutely no interest in inheriting or accumulating any possessions.
Instead of viewing this as just a quirky personality trait, the Force frames it as potentially indicating a more advanced understanding of the impermanence of material things.
Like they've already learned that lesson, maybe in a previous life, and now it just comes naturally to them.
Makes you think, doesn't it? So are you ready to unpack these 5 grades?
I am. Let's start with grade 1, no dependence, where the main subject is do dharma and avoid adharma. Now, dharma is a complex concept, but at its core, it's about righteous action, living ethically and fulfilling our duties.
Our source emphasizes Dharma as the foundation for further spiritual growth. It's like the bedrock upon which everything else is built.
It's presented as a tool for deeper learning, almost like language. You can't really delve into complex subjects without first understanding how language works, right?
You need that basic tool to access and process knowledge. It's fascinating how the source links Dharma to free will, suggesting that initially, choosing to act in accordance with Dharma might require effort. It's a conscious choice, like learning to write. It takes practice and dedication.
But as we progress, it becomes more ingrained. We don't have to think about it as much. Doing the right thing becomes our natural inclination.
It suggests an evolution where ethical living is no longer a struggle, but an effortless expression of who we are. And in this framework, even unintentional adharma, actions that go against Dharma, become less likely as we advance.
It's like eventually our moral compass is so finely tuned that we naturally steer clear of those negative actions, even without consciously trying.
Quite a powerful image. Now, on to grade 2, world dependence. Here, the focus shifts to reduction of attachment. It's a stage many of us can probably relate to.
It's that phase where we look outside ourselves for happiness and fulfillment, seeking validation through things like name, fame, wealth, possessions, or power.
It's like we're convinced that acquiring these external things will bring us lasting contentment. But they never quite do they?
The source points out that this constant seeking leads to attachment, which in turn creates vulnerability to things like delusion, fear, and anger when those external things we've become attached to are threatened or lost.
And that's where the practice of karma yoga comes in, which our source highlights as a way to navigate this stage.
Karma yoga is all about acting without being attached to the outcomes of those actions. It encourages us to shift our focus to the present moment, the action itself, rather than getting caught up in wanting specific results.
It's about doing what we believe is right, without letting our ego get entangled in the potential rewards or punishments. And this detachment, this letting go, helps us break free from the illusion that external things hold the key to our happiness.
So we move to grade 3, God dependence, where the main subject becomes devotion to God, which feels like a real turning point in our understanding.
It's a shift from relying on the external world to relying on something greater than ourselves. In this stage, all actions are seen as an offering, dedicated to a higher power, and both positive and negative outcomes are accepted with a sense of equanimity, as gifts from the divine.
It seems like surrendering to this higher power requires a certain level of inner peace, a mind that's not constantly consumed by fear and anxiety about getting what we want from the world.
Absolutely. By reducing those attachments and the afflictions they cause, we create space for this deeper connection to emerge. The mind becomes more receptive to a higher purpose, a divine will.
And then we reach grade 4, which is self-dependence, where the focus becomes understanding the source of happiness. This sounds like a very introspective stage.
It is. Material pursuits take a backseat here, replaced by a deep yearning for spiritual knowledge and a genuine understanding of the self, the universe, and our place within it. It's a pursuit of ultimate truth.
It's about moving beyond blind faith and dogma towards a deep experiential knowing. And according to the source, the transition to the final grade happens when this knowledge becomes unshakable, when we've truly internalized it and it informs every aspect of our being.
That unwavering conviction, that deep knowing, becomes the foundation for the final stage.
And that brings us to grade 5, which is independence. Interestingly, our source says it has no subject, but is characterized by joyful living.
It's like at this point, all the essential lessons have been learned and integrated. There's no more striving, no more seeking. Actions flow effortlessly, free from ego and attachment.
The source describes a state of being where the ignorance that caused suffering has been replaced by the realization of our true, ever-joyful nature. So joy isn't something we have to chase anymore, it just becomes our natural way of being.
It's almost like we finally remember who we truly are, and that remembering brings a profound sense of peace and joy. And according to the source, some individuals who have reached this stage might act as guides or mentors for others, sharing their wisdom and embodying that inherent joy, showing what's possible.
It's a really beautiful concept. So to sum it all up, this framework of 5 grades in World School gives us a fascinating way to look at the stages of spiritual learning and growth we all experience.
It highlights this progression from establishing that ethical foundation to letting go of worldly attachments, cultivating devotion, seeking deeper self-knowledge, and ultimately realizing a state of pure joy.
And remember, the underlying message here is that we're all on this journey towards recognizing our fundamental unity.
It's not about achieving oneness in some distant future, but waking up to the reality that we are already interconnected right here, right now.
Exactly. And the moment we grasp that truth, that we are already one, we can begin to experience that deep, lasting joy the source describes. It's all about understanding ourselves and perhaps understanding where we might fall within this framework. I think it offers a lot to think about and maybe even a new perspective on our own experiences and learning journeys.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for listening.